Hey guys, I'm Tom the Tech Chap, and this is going to be probably one of the weirdest unboxing / first impression videos I've ever done. Not least because before these review samples even came, which is like a good several days before they actually unveil them officially at the launch event, I saw a TV advert for the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro. So Google's basically leaked everything anyway, so you guys know pretty much everything there is to know about these. Also, I'm under a very strict embargo for this video. My full review and tons of comparisons will be coming in a few days. But for this video, I can only show you a few things, but I am still very excited about these because I've been waiting for a new flagship Pixel for, what, 2 years now? My wife as well, she still uses the Pixel 4 XL from 2019. She cannot wait to upgrade to one of these, so let's see what we've got. So this is the Stormy Black Pixel 6, and as you can see, the side of the box actually reflects the color of the phone because we've got the cloudy white 6 Pro, which I must say I think is going to be my favorite, but also we've got this sort of white side of the box as well. So a little interesting difference there, but let's get these opened up, and we've got the phone straight away. There we go, let's put that to one side. So we do have a couple of things going on here. We've got some paperwork, which I very elegantly take out, some paperwork, a USB-C to USB-C cable, and also a USB-A to C adapter to help you switch from an older phone. That's it, no charger unfortunately in the box, although these do support up to 30-watt fast charging, but you'll have to buy that yourself. So let's now jump into the 6 Pro. I'm guessing it's gonna be exactly the same. Oh, look at that, that does look nice. Yep, USB-C, adapter, paperwork. I will let you into a little secret that most YouTubers, when they do unboxings, they have already unboxed and set up the phone. I know I do because it's not very helpful doing this bit and then I have to go away for half an hour while I set it up, put my apps on it and try it out a little bit. Anyway, let's do the good bit. Beautiful, that'll do. That's one. All right, and there we have it, the 6 and the 6 Pro. First things first, I need one of these, a little microfiber cloth, because straight away on this black one, I've already got my mucky fingerprints all over it, and I actually cleaned this before I put it back in the box. So I think actually, regardless of what color you think looks better, they do come in a variety. The black does pick up fingerprints a little bit easier than the white. Okay, so first impressions. Well, when I first picked these up, they did kind of remind me of a Huawei phone, the 6 Pro especially, kind of like, you know, the latest Mate 40 or P40 or something, just because you've got these sort of rounded glass corners. It feels a lot more premium and sort of a little bit more precious in your hand. That's not a bad thing at all. So it really does feel like a departure from older Pixel phones, particularly the 5, which had this sort of, well, recycled paper cardboard material feel to it. I also think if Geordie LaForge from Next Gen was going to have a phone, it would probably be this one with the visor. I can't unsee it now. Now, unfortunately, due to the very strict embargo, this is all I can actually show you of the phone. I can show you the hardware, we can talk about specs, which we'll go into in a second, and the home screen, but I cannot do anything else. Apparently, even if I just swipe down and show you the notifications or the settings menu, then some Google heavies will break my door down and come take these away from me. So best be careful, best be on their good side. So this is all I can show in terms of the phone, just the home screen. And maybe the Google News feed, that still counts as the home screen, I guess. So let's talk specs. And the first thing you'll notice, well, the 6 Pro is bigger. We've got a 6.4 versus 6.7 inch screen, Full HD versus Quad HD, and also 90 Hz versus 120 Hz. So bigger, sharper, and smoother on the 6 Pro. Plus it uses an LTPO panel so it can dynamically adjust that refresh rate based on what you're doing, if you're watching a video or playing a game, and that can actually go some way to help improve battery life. Now design-wise, we have this hole punch cutout for the selfie camera, which actually is a little bit different in terms of the hardware, which we'll come back to in a second. Also, the 6 Pro does have slightly thinner bezels and also a curved screen. As you can see here, we've got this curved glass as opposed to the flat screen on the 6. But I must admit, the 6 Pro does feel a bit sort of higher quality in your hand. But what do you think? Do you prefer a curved glass edge and that sort of fancier feel in your hand, or just a good old-fashioned flat edge? Interestingly though, despite the fact that we have this smaller screen, and it is a fair bit smaller, it actually only weighs 3 grams less. And it's also exactly the same 8.9 millimeters thick. The 6 does feel a little bit sort of chunky and a little bit cheaper feeling than the 6 Pro, which I guess does make sense. This is the more high-end phone. But yeah, it's just a bit odd that this isn't lighter and a bit more, well, compact. We also get the latest Gorilla Glass Victus on the front screens on both, although on the back, only the 6 Pro has Victus, whereas the 6 has, well, its namesake, Gorilla Glass 6. You'll also notice we have an extra lens on the 6 Pro, which is the telephoto, which this one misses out. Also on the side, you can see we've got a slightly different texture, this different material. Google are calling this a polished alloy on the 6 Pro versus just a tactile alloy, which is basically a more sort of matte metal finish on the standard 6. So again, I think overall the 6 Pro does feel just that bit more premium. And they're also both IP68 dust and water resistant. We do also get stereo speakers on both phones, which is great, but that is it, aside from the power and volume button on the right-hand side. No headphone jack, and while we do get dual SIM, 5G of course, and that's a nano SIM plus an eSIM, there is no micro SD card expandability, which is a bit frustrating, as these phones top out with just 256 gigs of storage. You only get 128 or 256 options. And so as a bit of an enthusiast power user and someone who's just been playing with the iPhone 13s that have 512 and 1 terabyte storage options, it is a bit surprising, a bit disappointing that it does top out 256 and you can't expand it further. It will be fine for most people, and also as we'll come to in a minute about pricing, these are arguably better value, but still it would have been good to see more storage. Both phones come with Google's brand new Tensor Core processor, which is completely different from obviously the usual Qualcomm Snapdragon chips that we're used to, along with 8 gigs of RAM on the 6 versus 12 on the 6 Pro. Not only is it a departure from the usual, as I say, Qualcomm chips and MediaTek processors and Apple's A series on the iPhone, Google are really putting effort into the neural engine and the sort of AI machine learning chops of them, because while in the sort of leaked benchmarks that we've seen available publicly, generally we're seeing these not quite perform up to the same standard as a Snapdragon 888. But then those leaked benchmarks are obviously from pre-release models and can't be confirmed, but also they don't really take into account what we might be seeing in terms of that neural performance and machine learning, because computational photography, all the Google Assistant stuff, everything going on behind the scenes to give you a sort of smart user experience with these is harder to measure. So it's going to be really interesting to test these out, see if that really makes much difference in terms of the processing times for the camera, what it unlocks, and also how developers might be able to take advantage of it going forward, because right out of the box, we're probably not going to see that many non-Google advantages with these Tensor Cores. So it might be more of a case of watch this space, as opposed to when I can finally show you the benchmarks being blown away by the crazy high Geekbench numbers. The 6 Pro does have a bigger 5,000 mAh battery versus about 4,600 on the 6, although I think battery life will be the same. This does have the LTPO more efficient panel, but this is smaller, low resolution, and also only 90 Hz, so I think that will probably even out. Both phones also support the latest Wi-Fi 6E, which is great to see, as well as Bluetooth 5.2, although only the 6 Pro comes with a UWB chip, which we get on the S21 Ultra and the iPhones, and it's basically a more precise version of Bluetooth. And the idea is it might help you unlock your car as you're sort of approaching it, but in reality there aren't that many use cases for UWB at the moment. Now hopefully I can show you this because, well, it just brings me onto the home screen, but the only biometric option for unlocking we have is a optical fingerprint reader. There is no face unlocking on either new Pixel 6s, which is a bit weird because generally on most Android phones we have face unlocking and fingerprint, so you have, well, 2 options as well as your PIN, password, and swiping. That's a bit weird. We do get 30-watt wired charging on both, so we're looking at 0 to 50 in about 30 minutes. And also wireless charging, although the 6 Pro is a little bit faster, 23 watts versus 21 when you're using the Google Pixel wireless stand. And we do also get support for reverse wireless charging, so you can top up your Pixel Buds or something similar. Let's talk about these cameras, because for most people, you buy a Pixel phone because you get that stock Android experience, and also the sort of the latest updates, and also some of the best cameras on any smartphone. So the good news, if you fancy yourself the smaller and cheaper Pixel 6, is that it shares the exact same main and ultra-wide camera as the 6 Pro. And finally, exclusive to the 6 Pro, we have a telephoto zoom lens with a 4x optical zoom, and you can then punch in up to a 20x super res zoom, as Google call it, which is a kind of hybrid, although that tops out at 7x on the standard 6 because we haven't got that telephoto lens. So except for that telephoto lens, the cameras are pretty much the same between the two phones. Although the same can't be said for the selfie camera, because we actually get an 8 megapixel f2 aperture camera on the 6, I'm trying to get that straight in my head, versus a 11.1 megapixel camera with an f2.2 aperture, so a slightly narrower aperture, although a high resolution on the 6 Pro. Both phones can also shoot up to 4K 60 with the rear camera, although on the front, again, the selfie on the 6 Pro is a step up because we can shoot 4K 30 and 1080p 60, whereas the standard 6 tops out at 1080p 30. But most importantly, how much? Well, the Pixel 6 starts from just £599, that's the same in dollars, and the 6 Pro will set you back £849 or $899. Which means these new Pixels are significantly cheaper than most rival flagships, and actually puts them right up against the likes of the OnePlus 9 series rather than the iPhone 13s or Galaxy S21s. These will be quite competitively priced actually, which is definitely a good thing given that we are perhaps missing out on a couple of features, as I say, like higher end storage options, no face unlocking, and really we're going to have to see how the battery, the performance, and the camera, basically everything you want to know, how they fare when we can properly test it and I can show you. What do you reckon? What are your first impressions of the 6 and the 6 Pro? And which one, if you are tempted, would you go for? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time right here on the Tech Chat.